Hi everyone and welcome to Green Monk TV. My guest on the show today is Chief Sustainability Officer for SAP, Peter Graf. Peter, we've had a couple of discussions here on Green Monk TV about things like paper reduction and employee engagement and things like that. But when I mentioned I was going to be having you on the show, a couple of people contacted me via Twitter and asked if I would ask you a couple of questions. Are you happy to take some of those questions?
Absolutely.
But Johan Brigeri asked, are there any special aspects of sustainability SAP focus on for the moment, and how do you involve all employees in the work?
So let's start with what we do internally. Right now, the focus is really on employee engagement, and specifically, we're driving an employee engagement right now around paper. We've done the same with energy before. We have plans for focus weeks around commuting and cars. We have focus weeks around volunteering and social responsibility, all those kind of different areas, all under one internal brand of clear purpose with which we're driving that within the business. That's a lot of focus. On the other side, internal focus is also on automating more of the processes that we need to get under control for reporting. You might know that we have had a very good success with our first interactive sustainability report. But now we're thinking about doing this once a year is kind of nice, but wouldn't it be great if we could do this quarterly or even monthly? It might not be assured every time, but I would like to be able to just push one button and know what our carbon footprint is that month. On the external side, or the customer-facing side, I should say, we're very focused on the post-merger integration with clear standards. We've had some very, very good traction with our customers. Clear Standards was acquired around Sapphire, which is the beginning of May, and we actually finally closed the deal in June. So we've done a lot of activities to make sure that the Clear Standards delivery is actually in line with the SAP brand of being a very reliable and trusted brand. We actually made sure that this on-demand solution is in line with that. So a lot of activities around Clear Standards and a lot of activity around the solution map, or the sustainability map, I should say, which is the first time that an organization tried to map out the impact of sustainability on all business processes, not only the green IT focus of the data center, but really all business processes like procurement, supply chain, analytics, and so forth. And we are bringing in our partners here, and there's a lot of activity there. We're engaging our customers to refine the map, and we're explaining our own solution along that map. So there's a lot of focus around that too.
Cool, great. So another question from a JC Wiley, who wants to know, he'd be curious to hear more about, as you mentioned yourself, SAP's sustainability map. So
first of all, and you say that, it's very important, Tom, the map is open for everyone to feedback around it. So it's part of the SAP Sustainability Report. So if you go to sapsustainabilityreport.com, on the solutions area, you just find the map, and you can join the dialogue. There's a Web 2.0 environment around it, so you can read blogs and articulate your own opinion, what fits and what doesn't in your point of view. The map actually has 7 areas, and each area is focused at one key audience. So, for example, the first line of the map describes what is interesting to the boardroom. That's the C-level conversation of sustainability performance management, all the way from reporting to analytics and benchmarking to tying sustainability into risk and strategy management, and then obviously have the financial impact of those activities. That's the first line. So there is a lot of activity that's described. The map is organized in the way that on the left-hand side, you have more of the compliance issues, and as you move to the right, you have more the leapfrog, competitive edge type of things. So companies can find their way through it, and they even can see whether they play a compliance game or whether they really try to create competitive differentiation through this. What's also important to understand is this is a tool for communication. SAP has offerings in many of those areas, but it's not complete in the sense that we map our own functionality to this. This is really an attempt to describe the topic. It's like we discovered a new continent, let's map it out. And that's why it's a collaborative approach. That's why we appreciate feedback from anyone, specifically also the viewers of your program, Tom, go to the sustainability report and check out the map and give us your feedback.
Sure, super, great. The next question then is from Fabian Patberg, who wants to know what's SAP's main aim in the future? Is it to be more sustainable as a business, or providing sustainability solutions for your clients?
That's a great question, because the answer on the paper seems to be clear. However, in reality, it's a little bit differentiated. So from a pure numbers perspective, our 2008 footprint was 470,000 tons of carbon equivalent per year. That's about 10,000 times smaller than the collective footprint of all of our customers. So if you think about impact that we can have in absolute carbon reduction, obviously with our solutions we can have a much greater impact on the carbon in the atmosphere than just by changing SAP. However, we feel there is a couple of great benefits to doing what we're doing. Number one, by focusing also on changing SAP internally and by cutting our own footprint by around 50% compared to 2007 by the year 2020. That means we're going through a lot of the pain and the exploration that our customers go through. So my own responsibility in driving both solutions for customers as well as being the one who's trying to improve SAP's own performance puts me into a nice position to kind of be my own customer and apply the methodologies and the challenges that I see, and take them to the product world. So to make a long story short, our impact is much better and much stronger talking about our customer solutions. However, without doing it ourselves, we don't learn what are the challenges inside an organization, and we are running the risk of seen as just doing some greenwashing with the products, but not living it ourselves. And we find it that we have the moral obligation to walk the talk and be a role model ourselves, and that's why we're doing it the way we're doing it. We're putting equal emphasis on both ends, internally as well as externally.
A Twitter user called Darnock wants to know what green data center innovations and our early stage companies in this space hold the most promise, do you think?
The data center is really an interesting field, because on one hand side, it's you can see green IT conversations all over the place, which is interesting because only 2% of the worldwide carbon emissions actually stem from the IT and communications industry, and the data center is only about 20% of that. So 0.4%, of the complete carbon is data center. However, I think it's great that the IT is waking up to the challenge and does something about it, because frankly, we are wasting energy in data centers that it's almost ridiculous. 90% of the energy going into a data center is used for cooling and idling. So we're spending 90% of electricity to cool servers that we don't actually need. And that's why we feel that certainly SAP has a responsibility here. So to make a long story short, again, what we have launched is the Green IT community, where we work with companies like Citrix and VMware and others to get the easy wins done quickly.
Great. Finally, what is going on with integration with GIS applications is a question coming from a Twitter user called Biohabit.
Yeah, the whole geographic information is obviously a great tool to help enrich business processes, specifically when it comes to environmental impact, because what you can do with those type of capabilities is you can nicely follow someone around and then draw the conclusions in terms of which means of transportation have they used and what is the carbon footprint that comes into play. And we actually have a small application for your iPhone for download at the Clear Standards website that you can use, and you can actually track your carbon footprint using that phone and the geographic information that it has in terms of where the presence is of that person carrying the phone. So that's only one example. I'm sure more things will happen in this area, but I do believe that geographic information is enriching business processes, and that can be very, very helpful in terms of sustainability considerations.
Superb. Peter, that's great. Thanks a million for coming on the show.